Welcome back to the Absolute Reason Mentorship Program with a focus on gender ideology. I am Joan, your freaky philosopher, and you are my absolute reason. It was in the first 6 parts where we explore gender ideology with the help of some dialectic science to improve our relationship and communication skills. We also discovered what was the first polarities, the first counterparts ever created within this dual nature. Energy and matter was discussed, and in that we observed that energy was first and then came matter. This is a very important principle to remember as we venture into part 7, where we further explore the balance in the oneness of all. Although there are counterparts in this dual nature, there is always one that pushes harder than the other. A positive and negative relationship, an active and passive principle at play, pushing and pulling against each other. It is this very same push-pull principle between our active and passive parts that allow us to explore the balance of all within the individual. Thankfully for all of us, I think in pictures. So as my investigations through spiritual science evolved from teenage years all the way up to where I am today, I managed to keep adding to this spiritual image that evolved as to exactly how the individual is put together. This individual composition, however, includes your organs, it includes psychology, but it also includes far more subtle aspects of who you are as an individual. Subtle sensory abilities that are available to you are waiting to be discovered. But before any of us can discover and go out on a new adventure, I should say, it is helpful to have a bit of a layout as to how the parts fit together and then how the relationship between the parts are formed. And this is where my beautiful picture comes into play. This picture, this image I'm about to present, is an image that evolved and formed throughout my life. And I know for a fact that once you observe the detail and the information, as well as the simplicity of it all, that you will feel like you have a new sense of being just by understanding better how you fit in yourself and then ultimately how you fit into the cosmos. The individual has 3 worlds above and 3 worlds below, expressed in the form of energy and matter. The 3 worlds above, pointing to the energy aspect of duality, consists of three bodies. It is the astral body, the etheric body, also known as the creative body, and then your physical body. The three worlds below, pointing to the world of matter, has the body of animals, minerals, and the plant body. It is these two aspects of duality, energy and matter, separated into these three principles of each, that presses upon the individual's physical sensory perception, and that ultimately reveals the relativities from which the individual builds and forms a perception of reality. But it would be highly helpful if we can identify the different qualities that are placed within the world of spirit and within the world of matter. It would be highly helpful for the individual to be able to differentiate between the relativities that support perspective. Are my relativities mainly supported by the world of matter, or are they supported by the world of energy? And do I have an effective balance between these two worlds that will ultimately guide me effectively through my everyday? So let us begin to explore the qualities of energy and matter by starting with that which is closest. I think most of us have been introduced to the foundational qualities of physical science, the world of matter. So this is where I will start. But these qualities stipulated within this slide should be kept in mind as qualities that are handed down from ancient knowledge and not necessarily today's physical science, or what we know as the Fauci effect. Matter is without consciousness, and this is why the senses can perceive it. Matter cannot think, feel, or observe, but it is the object of knowledge and that which is to be known. Matter also has this nasty tendency of constantly dividing itself into many forms, making it consistently more and more complicated. And this is why you as an individual, if you are unaware of the qualities of energy, that we as individuals can quickly be deceived by clever intellectuals to think that what they are speaking of is just too complicated for the mediocre man to understand. I do not need to understand the world of matter that continuously divides itself into complications if I understand thoroughly the world of energy. Matter is also always moving, and to understand the fractal motions of matter is incredibly helpful for the individual to understand that there are cycles, alternating currents within the world of matter as much as they are within the world of energy. The fractal motions of matter is in the threefold nature. You have rhythm, mobility, and inertia. It is rhythm that makes the movement regular. It is mobility that keeps matter active and moving about. But it is the critical state of inertia that ultimately gives matter resistance and stability. On we move to the qualities of spirit. It is spirit that is formless. and your physical senses cannot perceive it unless you actually develop your supersensory abilities that is available to the individual. Energy is the same in one as it is in all. It is the spirit in us that brings about the I, capital I, in each of us. It is that which thinks, feels, and observes. The fractal motions of spirit is also in the threefold nature. It is the motion of being, the motion of thought power, and the motion of bliss. It's in the energetic spiritual web of being where observation begins to matter. It is a law of perspective that whatever you rest your eye, EYE, on, activates matter. It brings rhythm to the world of matter. This rhythm is set through an alternating current of thought power. How often do you think about this thing, and what emotional attachment is fundamentally attached to that thought? And this is how thoughts become things. The ultimate bliss that you find as an outcome of your thought power is determined by just how attached you are to a desired outcome. Excellent. Now we understand a little bit better as to what the three worlds above and the three worlds below the individual are. These worlds, although they have an impact and an influence on the individual, they are not the actual individual, the physical experience that you and I connect with. It is the three worlds above and the three worlds below that press upon the individual. This pressing onto the individual creates a channel of sorts. This channel is then allocated with a frequency. That frequency is determined by the alternating current of the threefold nature of the individual. The combination of his will, knowledge, and action defines the frequency that is captured within the channel created by the three worlds above and the three worlds below the individual. But the threefold nature of the individual is not the only knowledge to be gained about how we operate within this world. We all, or most of us, have seen the scales of Thoth. This is the scales almost like those Lady Justice holds. The difference is the scales of Thoth usually have a little feather in one of the pockets. This feather in the pocket, however, is not an indicator of how one's heart is weighed at the time of death. In fact, it has nothing to do with death and everything to do with how we operate within this world. So let us for a moment imagine the scales of Thoth as it was intended. You as the individual is the scale of Thoth. It is your baseline pillar of will, knowledge, and action that creates a fixed center point for you from which you can build your relativities. On either side of you as the individual, you have your interaction with life, a push-pull relationship between the perpetual change that is life. On the one side, you have morality. On the other side, you have illusion. Both the aspects of morality and illusion have a constant push-pull relationship with you, the individual. Both aspects also have degrees of manifestation. How extreme are you on morality, or how extreme are you on illusion? The trick is not to dismiss or exclude any aspect of these parts, but rather to find a proper balance between them, directed by the absolute aspect of who you are. That absolute aspect is your will. It is free will alone that is absolute within this pocket, within the structure of who you are as an individual. Everything else around you, both morality, illusions, the three worlds above, the three worlds below, all your relativities are fixed to your will. It is will that is absolute, and everything else around it has an ebb and flow, a push and pull, an up and down motion of how manifestation ultimately pushes up against your will. Ta-da! It is at the end of part 7 where orientation is achieved. Don't you feel a bit more balanced already just by gaining the insight around how you fit into this body, how this body fits into the world, and ultimately the push-pull relationship between these parts? It is spiritual evolution that directs the spirit of the individual to pursue this type of knowledge. It stirs deep within us to try and understand better the energetic aspects of this creation. Because when we look around us, all we are taught, all that is pointed to, the only relativities given to us come from the world of matter. Unless you are lucky enough to have been raised with a religion that provides this structure through stories and guidelines and a lot of lists of what to do as a child, religion offers you a structure whereby you can further build and reach and explore the energetic aspects of who you are as an individual in the latest stage of life. When I say later stage of life, I mean around 16 years old. The child will have then the nice energetic or the spiritual baseline from which they can understand themselves and then use that baseline to go and further explore. It is at that stage that the child may or may not let go of their religion, the religion you as a parent taught your child, and at the beginning stages of life that offered them the necessary stability. I am very curious to know what the statistics are around children who suffer with gender ideology or who relate to their bodies as a dysphoria, a dysfunctional relationship. I would love to see the statistics around how many of those children were raised with a proper religious structure. But that is a question I'm going to leave out there, one I will pursue later in time. For now, my duty is to teach you how the sacred physics of it all brings balance in the oneness of all. I am Joan, your freaky philosopher. You are my absolute reason. Stay tuned for part 8. It's going to be a blast. And we're going to have a lot more fun than we have in the first couple of parts. Because now we do have the baseline knowledge in place. Which means we get to go and play with it. And that's what's going to happen in part 8. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you enjoyed this knowledge. I am Joan, your freaky philosopher, and you will forever be my absolute reason.